We're up?
Yep.
Okay. We're back on the record at 8:09. We're going to start public testimony. We'll go down in order. Teresa, is it Durham?
Yeah.
Come on up and you'll have 3 minutes to testify. And a reminder that this is testimony for this public hearing.
Correct. Shall we start?
You're good to go.
Okay.
Just your name and address if you can.
Teresa Denham, 25381 Kimpton Drive here in Middleton. And this is regarding the proposed mill subletting. And thank you, Mayor Rule and City Council for hearing me today. I wrote in on this back in October when it first came up on the radar. And I said that I felt like the location is a good location to put a subdivision. They are correct that this location seems to be a good fit. However, I did ask at the time that because of issues that we have yet to fully understand, that maybe this is not the right time to put in a subdivision such as this. We have an infrastructure problem in the city of Middleton. I don't think any of us can deny that. We've been pouring a lot of money into the sewer down on I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the road. We've been talking about the schools. We've been talking about the lack of parks. We've been talking about the water infrastructure. As we take away agricultural land, we are losing water that goes down into our aquifer. Instead, it goes into our sewage drain and goes out into the river, and we start losing some of that aquifer ability. There are test wells in Middleton, and I've located those on these. I will give them to you guys to look at. But here's 4 test wells. Here's Middleton down here. Every single one of our test wells show a decline in our water aquifer. While we can supply access to water as far as the mechanism to move the water, we cannot supply more water in the aquifer, especially as we take away agricultural land. This is the well up on the northeast corner of Middleton. We have a whole bunch of aquifer recharge, discharge issues that are hard to understand exactly what they are. I'm still looking into that and working with some engineers with the state. And then this is our well number 15 ABC1, which sits in the area that we're talking about tonight. Okay, these kind of graphs showing our water issue problem can't go on and on and on without having a ramification in the future by continuing to add more to until we understand what the picture really is. So I think between the water and the traffic, I would ask that we table this at this point. Take time, just take time to look at the issues ahead of us and how we can resolve those.
Take a minute and finish up.
And how we can resolve those so that we can build a city that our grandchildren are going to enjoy, so that we can build a safe future for our grandkids that has access to basic needs such as water, safe traffic, and schools. So I am not against the subdivision. I just think the timing is wrong. And until we understand these other issues, and regarding that stoplight, thank you, Rob, for bringing that up, because that's exactly what I understood the way Roberta had done it, and I felt like we were being bait and switched into something else.
Okay.
I don't think we're asking for
Questions for Teresa? Looks like you're good. Hang on.
I just wanted to clarify, when you say water and then you talk about
the test wells.
I just want to know, are you talking about the potable city water or irrigation water for farmers?
No.
I just wasn't sure which water you were.
No, I am talking about, these are wells. These are test wells for potable drinking water. They are not the city wells, but these are test wells that the state of Idaho monitors. And they are monitoring this, and these graphs I pulled off their website to represent what's happening to the water in our area specifically. specifically. And this is over a period of I believe this is a period of from 2002 to 2022. Okay, so we're not
So the
equivalent.
answer is domestic.
The answer
Water
is
table.
well water that we will be using to, as we dig more wells, that's what we're digging into, is this aquifer. Is
Any
that
other
answer? I'm
questions
sorry.
for Teresa? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Next, the name is Marty Denham, right?
Yep,
Come on up.
same last name. Hi, Mayor Knoll and City Council, thank you for letting me address you tonight. I assume the clock is running? It is, okay, thank you. Thank you again for letting me address you tonight. I noted a couple of things in the presentations, both from Roberta and the developers' representatives. And first of all, I want to extend thanks to Roberta because I felt like you were holding the line on the impact fees. And I can't think of any reason why we should back off from that. I think your calculations are sound, and I agree with them. The second thing is, we've lived here for going on 4 years now. We love this community, and I have both, I have a 4-mile loop that I jog, and it goes near the school. And I drive to and from Ridley's and other stores throughout the day and so forth. And Cemetery Road is a big item, and on Cemetery Road, there is a grade school, and I noticed it was either last summer or the summer before, it's all kind of blurred, modulars going in. And modulars are taking up the green space that the kids play on. And it breaks my heart. Because I was a kid once, and I remember grade school, we played softball, we played baseball, and soccer, and you name it, and all the games that we used to play. And we had such green space, we had baseball fields and stuff. To see that being eroded because somebody wants to put in homes and make a profit, it breaks my heart. And I think that I would agree with what Teresa said. What's the rush? What's the rush? Okay, interest rates are high anyway, so it's going to be tough to sell homes at this point. What's the rush here? Okay, can we slow this down a little bit, and can we put off this decision or wait on this decision until that traffic light goes in and a new grade school is at least started to handle that, okay? Because we're way over capacity on the schools. And I think that's a tremendous ask of the students. It's definitely a tremendous ask of all the teachers and the staff to try to manage that. And I think it's unreasonable. And even though it's not in the comp plan per se, or state requirements per se, I think it's in your purview to slow this down and to tell these, developers that this one's gonna have to wait. So that's my request, and I don't have anything more unless you have questions. Okay, thank you again.
Hang on, any questions for? Okay, thank you very much, we're good. Ms. Galloway.
Michael Galloway, 425 Spring Creek Way. I met with Superintendent Gee before the last planning commission, and I got these figures from him. Heights Elementary is 136% over capacity with 5 portables. Mill Creek 119% capacity with 6 portables. Purple Sage is 80%. This one, and middle school is 85%. And this one really surprised me. The high school is 94% capacity, and we built this school not too long ago thinking it would last us for a very long time, and 94% capacity. The school district has spent $2 million on portables. From what I understand, there are 2,800 new homes already approved for development in the city of Middleton. At 5.96 students per household, that's a total of 1,680 more students going into our school, plus another 60 from this development. If those were all elementary schools, that's an equivalent of about 3 elementary schools. The earliest we can put a bond out for a new school is May of 2024. The latest is May of 2025. It takes 18 to 24 months to build a new school, so the earliest we could have a new school, if approved by voters, is May of 2026. With this amount of students projected to come to Middleton, our schools are not going to be able to accommodate all these students. What do you propose we do with the influx of students to our schools for the next 2 years? We're already over capacity. And you can pretty much assume that all of our schools will be over capacity for the next year and a half. Our students deserve better than this. Middleton has excellent schools. That's a reason why a lot of people want to come here. If all of our schools are overcrowded, people are not going to want to come to Middleton. I just think that you, as a city council, need to slow down this development until we catch up. We're just going too fast. Our kids are important to us, and I want them to have the best education that Middleton can possibly give them. So thank you for your time.
The next name, I'm having difficulty read it, is it
Carol Watkins.
Come on up, please,
Thank
and say your name again for me.
Thank you. My name is Carol Watkins.
Thank you, Carol.
I'm going to add to hers, but first I'm going to ask of the developer, because I don't think they've mitigated anything. You see a lot of charts, you hear a lot of Kittleson calculations. It means nothing to me. I mean, all I know is the students are coming in. They haven't mitigated one thing. The payment that if they do any improvements, they will get reimbursed by the city. So that's on all of us too. I have been serving in this district for 22 years, almost every single day. You can talk about all these wonderful, beautiful subdivisions. They have pickleball, they have pools, they have this, they have that. What are they going to do and contribute to our park system? Mr. O'Meara, you know we don't have enough parks for kids. You know that if the kids that are in town are not going to be able to use those pools, they want baseball parks, soccer parks. They want activities. You think they're getting in trouble now? You just wait. Because there's going to be a whole bunch of haves and a whole bunch of have-nots. And those kids that are in town or on the outskirts of the city, they're not going to have anything. You want to see problems, you're going to see problems. And it's not just this development. You have this one, and this one, and this one, and it's a whole hodgepodge. What about if we had green spaces for everybody? Not just their pickleball court, not just their dog parks, like it's been mentioned. That's not fair to the rest of the town. The rest of the town's paying too to have some facilities that we're not getting. Nothing. You've been to baseball games. There's no place for football except, the high school. So we don't have any place. Baseball, you go to Hawthorne, we can't even get space in there for all the teams. With all these kids that are coming in, it's not just the classroom. That's bad enough. Trust me, I'm in there almost every single day, in every single school. You're not going to be, these kids want to play. They want to play. We need green spaces for everybody, not just a pool for them and a pickleball and this and that. Who does that to serve? Who do these wonderful monument developments serve? Certainly not most of the kids in Middleton. So I just believe that if you want to really pretend that you care about the city, you start thinking about caring about the kids that are here and what kind of life they have. Not the grandchildren too. If they want to go out and play, where is there? There's nowhere. Okay.
Thank you very much. Any questions? It's pretty obvious her passion is. Ms. Janet Gibson?
Hello, Janet Gibson, 945 Harvest Way. I think this development deserves to go where it's going to go. I mean, it makes sense, but I do have a problem with what the developer is presenting as far as the impacts. As far as no impact to fire and police, impact is not geographical, it's population-based. Our police officers can drive 5 miles, but if they're driving 5 miles across agricultural land and servicing 2 or 3 families, it's not the same as servicing 100 homes that each have 3 3 to 5 different people in them. So when we look at these subdivisions and we look at the impact on our infrastructure, being police and fire, I think we really need to look at it more on a population base. As far as Cemetery Road not being impacted, holy cow. The idea of looking to 2040 to see what kind of percentage base that intersection will hold from this subdivision makes absolutely no sense. Half of us won't even be alive. It's days.
Janet.
You go to the gym, I know that. That impact is today. And we need to look at what that impact is going to be, and much to Councilman Murray and Kaiser's comment about who's going to pay for this light, and is the light going in before the subdivision? Toll Brothers, you guys are huge. You're huge. I can't believe that you would be crying about whether or not you're going to take an active part in putting in a light that we desperately need, or even waiting until this light comes to fruition, if indeed we get money from ITD. That light is really important, and I can't believe that 0.05%, which is the number that they quoted, is one, accurate, and two, to me, it's compelling. Either way, we need a light there before we accrue more population and more traffic on Cemetery especially. Also, schools. Roberta, you mentioned something about our comp plan not mentioning anything about the population of our schools. That needs to be rewritten, because that obviously, based on what everybody's talking about, you all know this, that cannot continue. Also, black powder. The developer was talking about, we didn't have these issues last year when we put black powder through. Want to know why? Because now we're all of a sudden realizing the challenges that we're facing. And so, to your credit, you're making it a little more tough for these developers to put these subdivisions in. Thank you. That's wonderful. That's why you may not have had the problem that you had with, you may not have had the problem with black powder that you're facing here. Because we have to tighten some of this stuff up to make Middleton a little more livable. And also, finally, one more thing. I live in West Highlands, and I think the biggest amenity that West Highlands has is the clubhouse, because it develops community. All the other subdivisions, people live in subdivisions that don't have them, you don't have the community that we do. And I would hope that, Toll Brothers, you're part of that, that every time you build a subdivision of more than 100 homes, you put in a clubhouse so you can develop a community with those residents. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Any questions for Ms. Gibson? Hang on, Janet.
I just, because you're the last one to mention the schools, and I don't really expect an answer, but I just kind of want to put it out there for people to think on, because I don't know the answer. We could stop building now, and if STAR continues, then our Middleton school districts will always be at capacity. And I don't see that as, so you see where I'm headed with this thought, but I just want to get it out there in this public hearing, which is, yeah, we can stop now and it will not change the capacity of our schools. So I just don't know where that goes, which is why I have a hard time with saying, well, we're not gonna do something in Middleton, because it won't change the outcome.
There's an old saying that says, if you're in a hole, stop digging.
But, you know, but someone else is digging in my hole for me.
Yes.
And that's a whole other conversation that starts.
But it's something I have to consider up here, which is, I got somebody else digging in my hole.
Get them out of your hole.
I can't.
We've got to figure out how.
Can't.
Sure.
No, you can't. Not legally.
Councilman Murray.
I'm just gonna blanket address schools. For anybody who's concerned about schools, I have not been complacent. After the meeting, let's sit down and I will tell you everything I've been working on, all the knowledge that I've gained on the subject. I'm just not gonna do it now. But please come talk to me about schools after.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone here that didn't sign up that wishes to testify on this subject? Then we'll go into rebuttal. And who will be handling rebuttal? Okay, and remember, this is rebuttal for the questions here, not a new presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor Rule. Jeff Bauer, 601 West Bannock. Council, thank you for the time. I'll try to be brief and address the comments and questions as quickly as possible. I certainly appreciate the comments. This is why we want to come to Middleton. There's obviously residents here that love the community, and we want to continue to be part of that. So a lot of comments were about services. So I'll touch real briefly on police, fire, utilities. We are not asserting, and I don't think we ever said that this project would have no impact on those utilities and service providers, but that this was logical growth and that utilities are already stubbed. We're surrounded on 3 sides by annexed land that are already getting services. So the impact fees that we'll pay to police, fire, etc., do fully mitigate our impacts because we're not pulling service far out of the city. We're right there in an area that's already being served. There were some comments about water. This 40-acre parcel does have water rights through Black Canyon Irrigation District for surface water. We're going to continue to use those existing water rights for irrigation on site. So we will not be drilling wells for irrigation. We'll be using existing water rights. SPF Water Engineers in 2016 actually did do a study of the Treasure Valley. I wish I had put it in the record, and I should do that on all these projects, but their study was Treasure Valley wide, and the purpose of it was to decide, do we have enough surface water to support growth through 2030, essentially? And the conclusion of that was unequivocally yes. There is enough surface water in the Boise drainage to serve anticipated growth through 2030, where they estimated that the population of the Treasure Valley would be roughly 1.7 million. And we're on track for that. Ms. Watkins indicated that we would be getting some reimbursements. I just want to reiterate or clarify, we're not asking for any reimbursements. If the council continues to impose the condition relative to the developer putting the signal in at State Highway 44 and Cemetery, the condition drafted by staff does offer up a mid-star impact fee credit, but no direct reimbursement. And again, we're not advocating for that. We'd prefer to just give you the $112,000 free and clear. Ms. Watkins also touched on the need for public open space. This is a small project, it's only 40 acres, but to reiterate, we are providing a public multi-use pathway that anyone can come walk their dog on, kids can play on. That is open to the public again, and we think will provide continuity for pedestrians in the future as areas around us develop. Certainly, it's a very safe route to the school. That's kitty corner as well. Already touched on fire and police, but again, we will be paying impact fees per the city code. Councilmember Huggins, you brought up a great point relative to schools. Schools are a hard issue to tackle, no question. The state legislature has prevented schools from collecting impact fees, and they're fairly limited in the ways they can raise money. But you're right, whether the city approves this project, the population of students going into the school district will continue to grow. The question is does Middleton want to have homes for residents to live in Middleton? Certainly, you mentioned the city of Star, they feed in. Another great example was the Farmington project that just came, right? 421 units in the Middleton School District. Going to that district and not paying taxes or impact fees to the city of Middleton. So we are trying to do our part with the school district through helping them with their bond, providing the grant application and facilities for their special programs. But really the $1,000 per door that Farmington's doing isn't a drop in it's nothing. right? That's $421,000.
So we're getting into a new hearing now instead of answering questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Keep
Yes,
going.
sir. Nope, nope.
You get all the time you want to answer their questions.
Yeah, I'll stop on schools, but we agree with you, Councilmember Huggins, and we appreciate that comment. I believe that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Any follow-up questions for the applicant? Councilman O'Meara?
Mayor Rule, one of the questions that Ms. Watkins brought up was parks. And I know that a previous subdivision of Toll Brothers actually negotiated with the school district to move the school site and retained the school site that they had and turned it into homes. That was actually a park site. So we lost soccer fields because of development. Fortunately, the city worked with the Parks and Recreation District and we were able to build another soccer complex. But the issue is not that those two facilities had to change, but what are you contributing to Parks and Rec development within the city limits? Because it is a separate entity and it is highly impacted by the students that are in our community. So what is Toll Brothers suggesting that they can do for the Parks and Recreation District or making more green space available?
Yes, sir. Mayor Rule, Councilmember O'Meara, appreciate the question. First, we are going to pay your parks impact fee, right? That's
the city. There are two different park systems in the city of Middleton. The city of Middleton runs their parks. They're mostly destination parks, small activities, playgrounds.
right, not the soccer fields.
They are not soccer fields, they are not baseball fields, they are not football fields.
Understood. I mean, we're again on a 40-acre site,
Right.
and we have constraints. You know, the site is we got the canal running through the middle. There's just not the space here to provide any, usable facility. So we're not doing anything specifically for Parks and Rec. We're paying the Parks impact fee, and we're providing a public multi-use pathway.
Okay, well, I've been told by your company in the past that you would work with the Parks and Recreation District on future developments. I don't never remember hearing you knocking on our door.
So we're in a rebuttal situation and
Understood.
specific questions, so I'm gonna go ahead and allow you.
Understood, and Mayor Rule, I appreciate the time to answer that directly, Councilman O'Meara. We did bring forward a project proposal that would have provided 2 large soccer fields. The city staff did not allow us to bring that forward to council.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to clarify, that's not on this site. That was, I believe,
That was a different part.
Phase 10 of
Different
West
site.
Highlands.
Black powder.
Black powder, I'm sorry.
Mayor Rule, I'm sorry, it's out of order, but is there?
This is rebuttal for the applicant. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, and rebuttal's done.
All right, thank you all for your time. Really appreciate it.
So the problem arises, we've got people who want to retestify after their opportunity to testify, and that's not how these hearings work. So apologize for any miscomfort there, but we had our chance. Any other rebuttal discussions here? Okay, we're gonna close public testimony at 8:38, and Roberta, you have anything to add?
No, I don't.
Okay. Any follow-up questions for staff? Then discussion and motions are in order.
Council, I'm hung up on the light and the money. And we can't seem to meet on that, then we can't meet. So here's my motion. I move we deny the application by Adam Campbell and Nicole Womack for the annexation, rezone, preliminary plat, development agreement, and waiver request with respect to Mills Landing subdivision located at 0 Purple Sage Road.
Second.
Got a motion by Kaiser, a second by Murray. Roll call.
Council,
Hold on. Any other discussion, council?
My only discussion is on a procedure item, which is, do you mean that you are denying it, but their path forward is to meet those two conditions?
The path forward is to get with city staff, and they need to iron out the details, yes.
According to
According to the
Roberta's
development.
recommendations.
Yes.
Would it be possible, a question for the lawyer, would it be possible to approve it, but the conditions of approval that are in the staff report are that they agree to the DA provisions as written and that they'll abide with it, sign the DA, and also pay the $109,000? That was a condition of approval. I don't know, do you know what I'm saying, Douglas?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, the motion could be what Robert has described, to approve it subject to those conditions, or to approve it subject to the conditions recommended by P&Z, or to deny it. Those are all appropriate things, so.
So procedurally, there's a motion on the table and there's discussion going on. And Councilman Murray, you're up.
I was just gonna say, I'd be more comfortable having it come before us again rather than giving conditions be met.
Agreed. I want to see the development agreement before I approve it. So I stand by my motion.
And I stand with your second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there a substitute motion? Okay, we're gonna move forward with the roll call.
Council President Kaiser,
Yes.
Councilmember Huggins,
Yes.
Councilmember Murray,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Meara.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much for all those who participated in this and for the respect and given the procedure. We'll move to action item number 12. Consider approving ordinance would have been for this public hearing, so it's not applicable. We won't move forward with 12 because it doesn't apply. We'll move to item 13, and that's to consider the appointment of Mark Christiansen to the Middleton Urban Renewal Agency Board to fill the remainder of Jacob Shear's term ending August 1, 2028. Just a few weeks ago, Jacob Shear, a real good young man, family man, got a new baby. He got a job change. He said he just can't fill the role. Mr. Christiansen has good city experience, and I think would be an excellent appointment to urban renewal.
Questions?
All right, then I move we approve Mayor Rule's appointment of Mark Christiansen to the Middleton Urban Renewal Agency Board to fill the remainder of Jacob Shear's term that ends August 1 of 2028.
Second.
Motion by Kaiser, second by O'Meara. Roll call.
Council President Kaiser.
Yes.
Councilmember Huggins.
Yes.
Councilmember Murray.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Meara.
Yes.
Okay, will somebody grab the public comment sheet for me?
Hold it.
There's a couple of people who wanted to talk.
Let's, go ahead, now would be a great time to sign that. Yeah, sure.
Go ahead. Just get-
I got in here late.
I have some. I just need more pseudo, really. But I'll be staying up all night.
Mr. Jason. All right, we'll go down in order. Mr. Jim Taylor.
Jim Taylor, 1052 Triumph Drive, Middleton, Idaho. First off, I need to apologize. The words came out of my mouth. I wasn't thinking when I said impact fees. And I did not mean to disrupt your proceedings by saying so. I know better, and I apologize for that. Thank you for considering that, your impact fees though. I appreciate the council having to look into parks and recreation, schools, everything else, but I appreciate the fact that your job is to look out for the citizens of Middleton. And that entity is the one that you should look out first. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Jim Gray.
Jim Gray, 23557 Duff Lane. And I heard tonight that we finally might get an update on the intersection of Duff Lane and Highway 44. That I've been in here wanting for a couple of years. I've been in front of planning, zoning, and the city council. Now I'm up here asking, what about a street light on that intersection? Because it is very, very dangerous now, especially at night with all the traffic with Corey Barton and all the homes coming down on Highway 44. And I'm shocked at the amount of traffic coming above Foothill, you know, where the subdivision is supposed to be going in now for everything. There's a lot of traffic. I'm thinking they're even coming from north of Purple Sage coming down Duff. There's a lot of traffic coming down above Foothill, north of Foothill. So needless to say, that intersection is really dangerous now. My wife came home the other night in the dark at that intersection. She said she barely was able to even see that intersection. Someone already plowed into it must be the cable company, equipment right at that corner. So that's all I'm asking is, when is a street light being put into that intersection?
Go ahead, Councilman Murray.
Well, that's what that hearing was, or, well, no, it wasn't a hearing, sorry, bad word. That development that we were talking about between Duff and Lansing, that's gonna be a county development, but it's, at some point in the future, will be annexed to the city once we are contiguous with it. As part of that agreement that will be going to the county now, that we have that infrastructure agreement in place, if the county approves it, before the first home goes vertical, they must have a traffic light at Duff and 44. And then once they go through all their phases over to the Lansing side, they then must have a light at Lansing. So I can't tell you when, but the next step in your process to seeing that to fruition is the county public hearing for that development, because it's all tied into that. Does that sound about?
The only thing I would add to that is part of that traffic light design will be pedestrian lighting, which is what you're referring to, I think.
Yeah,
Or are you referring to the stoplight itself?
Right, and I did see in that agreement that Dick Phillips, who owns that corner right on Duff and Highway 44, he finally agreed to give you up, 25 feet to be able to have a right turn lane out on Duff. That's the big problem right now. There's no right turn lane. So you got all single line cars all the way up Duff, and one person making a left towards Boise, brother. You're backed up past Jack's house.
It's all a problem. Yeah, you're right, it's all a problem. So, Councilman Murray's exactly right. That is coming very soon.
All right, thanks for listening to me, City Council and Mayor. Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you very much, I will, Jim, thank you very much. Marty, now you can come up.
Yeah. Thank you. It'll be the same subject that I had before, which I wanted to expand and clarify some of the comments that Teresa made with her graphs that she was showing, even And for the record, I generated those graphs, just so you know. I just used the USGS well data, which anybody can Google in about 2 minutes, so it's pretty easy to come by. We came from Central Oregon, and we bought a property there just northeast of Bend, Oregon. And it was interesting because we hadn't been there about a year, then our well went dry. We started sucking up mud, and we were at 650 feet deep. So then we drilled to 780 feet deep, and it was very convenient because our neighbors ran out of water at the same time. So the truck just had to move 1 block down and drill our well. So I know what that feels like, and then we had the unique privilege of seeing my parents for the first time in several years in Sun River, Oregon, and he laughed when I told him the story because they had a drilling truck that just went from property to property to property. That is our future. We have wells that are 80 feet deep, 60 feet deep, people that have counted on the water forever. So to clarify the discussion from the gentleman from Toll, I wasn't talking about surface water, and Teresa wasn't talking about surface water. We know about that. I'll come back to that in a second, but we're talking about aquifer. So every subdivision puts up roads and concrete and pavement, and they take away the recharge capability, and the water becomes surface water and is returned to the Boise or the Payette or the Snake River. And that's what happens to that water, but it doesn't go back into the aquifer, so the aquifer becomes less charged. And that's what the graphs are showing. And those are wells that are around the greater Middleton area. So that over a 20-year period, it's declined several feet, and that was really the point. And domestic water that we, for showers and baths and laundry and dishes and everything else, domestic water comes from wells, and your wells, the city's wells, there's 5 or 6 of them as I recall, and our well are coming out of the same place. They're all coming out of the same essential reservoir or aquifer. So when somebody says, and they come in and say, well, we're just going to use city water, what's the problem? We're not drilling any wells. It doesn't solve the problem. They're pulling more load on the existing wells coming out of the same aquifer. I just wanted to clarify that point. Okay. Then part B is, let's say we, worst case, we build another, I don't know how many, let's pick a number, 25,000 rooftops. And that rate starts accelerating. Then I would think there would need to be a conversation about purchasing easements to pump water from the Boise River out to residents or to pumping stations. And I'm not aware that any such conversation has even begun. But you'd want to start it now, not when people are starting to have to alternate what days they can do laundry on, or wash cars, or wash lawns. That's my general concern. And I just don't want to see that happen to this beautiful community. So it's a general concern. I hope that we get studies, that we pay attention to it. It's unlimited resource. And I hope that we all understand it and treat it that way. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Follow up. Councilman Murray.
This is not an issue which I would ignored either. It's not as simple as it seems to be. So one of the reasons why being on city water is out in the county on the individual wells, because every well that you drill creates what's called a cone of depression. It's like, imagine putting a tarp over your boat, right, and it rains, and there's a puddle of water here and a puddle of water here right all over, but when you put your finger in it, and it all gathers there. It's the same thing. Every time you drill a well out there, it creates a cone of depression around that new well, and then every time you start your washing machine, your shower, whatever, and you start pulling water out, all that groundwater wants to go to you or go to your neighbor, and the more you have, the more cones of depression you have pulling water away from you or you or you. Another issue that feeds into that is all the farmers around here used to recharge the aquifer fantastically because they flood irrigate. Well, now most people do pivots, and pivots just put the necessary amount of water on top, right? Flood irrigating, flood it, and that recharge the aquifer. So there's a lot of agencies that need to be involved, and a lot of communication that needs to happen, not just the city of Middleton, but I'm aware.
Councilman Murray, I do appreciate your comment, and it's fascinating because I watched several YouTube videos that illustrated that exact effect, where they had, it looked like an ant farm, and then they showed you that depression, and then they put dyes in the water so you could see the movement. So yes, I agree with you. It's a complex discussion, and that's why I'm simply bringing it up to say I would hope that the complex discussion is underway soon, because with this many approvals and then more requests in the pipe, and then the conversation of moving the impact zone up to Galloway and then on and beyond, I just don't want to see people's wells go dry, including mine. And to your other point about the recharging the aquifer from the farmers, I agree with you. We do flood irrigate on our place, but and so do our neighbors, but I appreciate your comments very much, so thank you.
Anybody else need to make a public comment from the audience? All right, then we're to the portion where mayor and council comments. Council, anybody have anything? All right, I have a comment. It's 8:54 and city council is adjourned.
I thought you were gonna offer to take me to dinner.